Uyo uko kuno apo pano mamuona kere nai.
Right, 16 August 2021, and today I'm joined by my usual guest, Mr. Tinashe Jonas. How are you, sir?
As usual, we are still surviving all the variants in their forms and the color.
Okay, fantastic. I like the way you're looking today, and you're looking very executive.
Thank you so much.
I think let's get started, Mr. Jonas. Let's look at the topic that we want to talk about. There were two announcements this past week, of mega deals by the Zimbabwe government, and I want us to unpack what is happening, especially if these deals make sense in this particular economy and at this particular time. So I want to start with the first deal, which is 1.3 billion or about 19 billion rands, a pipeline from Beira to Harare. I want to quickly play the snippet of Minister of Information speaking about the deal, then we'll talk about it.
The other project is between NOIC and Coven Energy Limited. The joint venture project between NOIC and Coven Energy Limited is for purposes of developing and operating a second pipeline from Beira to Harare. The objective is to establish Zimbabwe as the hub for the transportation of refined petroleum products to the SADC region, namely Zimbabwe, Botswana, and South Africa. The project will result in NOIC and Coven Energy Limited entering into a 50-50 public-private partnership. The project will create employment opportunities as well as generate foreign currency for the country. It will also help reduce vehicular congestion and the smuggling of petroleum products. The pipeline will be built over 4 years at an estimated cost of $1.3 billion. The partnership would be for a period of 30 years. Cabinet resolved that the parties sign an MOU for purposes of conducting a bankable feasibility study which they would fund. The feasibility study would subsequently inform government on the way forward.
Right, so let's start with the structure. This deal, the feasibility study, is being funded by the government of Zimbabwe. Is that correct, or did I not hear right?
Both partners are going to fund the feasibility study.
Okay. Does this make sense to have a second pipeline when you already have an existing one? Is the existing one fully utilized?
Okay, a good question. Although I won't be tempted to answer in a way like I'm their spokesperson, the company is the project spokesperson, but my own personal opinion is that since the existing pipeline was implemented many years ago, I just think maybe it's not wide enough to pump enough volumes to cater for the domestic and regional demand. That's my assertion. So I think obviously the second pipeline must be an expansion of the first, which must be inadequate. It's not supplying enough. That's my personal opinion.
Okay, now let's look at the other alternatives. This pipeline is going to cost $1.3 billion. And if it's a 50-50 joint venture, it means the Zimbabwe government will have to find approximately, let's say, 700 million. Are there no other alternatives? For example, using the train to carry this oil to Zimbabwe, or maybe sharing with the existing pipeline in some sort of joint venture with the existing pipeline. Why would we have a second pipeline?
All right. I will still repeat that viewers must know that I am not a project spokesperson. I'm just using my opinions. I think, like using trains, as you say, obviously fuel it's the driving force of the economy. Now, already there are things like even trucks, and so many other things. But these things are, as the minister said, all other means are fueling the smuggling of these petroleum products into Zimbabwe. I know a few people who are into this fuel smuggling thing. I think now they know that and remember, a train, there will be regular transportation costs. This project has got a scary a capital injection at the beginning, but they know that stretching it to 30 years, it will be basically more like, it will be like free. The operational costs, transportation costs will be almost reduced to zero, because everything will just be limited to maybe security of the pipeline, of which we know that our police, our military, is their duty to guard the key economic zones of the country. So I think at the beginning, the amount is scary, but as we go, it becomes almost close to zero in terms of operational costs.
Okay, let's now look at the key players: Coven Energy and NOIC. Who are these people?
All right. I've got information that Cohen is a British company, but NOIC, I don't have much data with it. But nonetheless, the bigger picture here is the energy. We know that energy, whether it's fuel, whether it's solar, whether it's electricity, energy, the costs of energy consumption, it goes to inflation and all other costs, and the people who pay normally the energy costs are the consumers, are the ordinary people. So I think it makes sense to invest a lot in energy. As maybe I don't want to preempt if we're going to touch on the solar project upcoming in Norton, but I think it makes more sense to invest into energy.
Okay. So overview, how do you feel about this 1.3 billion pipeline? What would you say in short?
In short, obviously, Zimbabwe is going to pay, maybe the government, they're going to pay obviously 650 million according to the but this figure, obviously they won't pay it as a once-off, whether in installments or in everything. And it's already, the partnership is going to last for 30 years, meaning this is a long-term investment. And already, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the minister said 500 jobs are going to be created. These are 500 families that are going to be fed. And obviously, there's some companies which are also going to be hired for other things. I mean, the construction of there's so many, spin-offs from such a huge project that benefit. We are crying of jobs, we are crying of unemployment, and the young people are crying of that. So I think it's a good investment, because Zimbabwe is most of the costs in our country are towards energy, whether fuel, whether electricity. So then it makes every business operational cost to be high.
Okay, I think that is covered. Let's go to the second mega deal. I think you've seen this mega deal here. This chairman that I'm presenting here, let me show his name. He's Mr. Zhang Guangda, chairman of Xinjiang Holding Group from China. I don't know if you've seen this mega deal. where they are
Yes.
going to be developing a big town between Mvuma and Chivu. And this project will have the biggest steel manufacturing plant in Southern Africa. So this is interesting because these guys are already in Zimbabwe and they are already started. There's going to be a lot of development here. So they said 1.5 kilometer by 600 meter carbon and steel plant, an iron ore plant, a ferrochrome plant, and the capacity of the project 1.2 million tons a year, and it will employ between 4,000 and 5,000 people. What is your feeling about this project between Chivu and Mvuma?
To me, you know, being the biggest in Southern Africa, it means we awakening the giant in us. Manufacturing or productivity is the only formula to a sound economy. I mean, we have been an economic warehouse of South Africa for so many years. Even little things as groceries coming from South Africa. Someone was saying toothpicks coming from South Africa. I think no country can really have a good economy when you are more like a marketplace of another country. Currently, Zimbabwe was officially a marketplace of South Africa, and some Japan, China, some clothing from Zambia, from Tanzania. So I think we are now changing to manufacturing, and in that way we can our currency would have value, and our ATMs transaction will be very easy. And other countries, the only way to give value to your domestic currency is manufacturing or productivity. So I think this is a welcome move. And imagine, I'm proud. I'm a proudly Weshira from Chibi South. Ngundu, since I was born, Ngundu was a growth point. Up to now, I'm old, and Ngundu is a growth point. But now that there is Tokwim Mkosi dam, which is a lake anyway, there's a lot of business activity around Ngundu. And mark my words, in the next 5 years, Ngundu is going to be a town. So the same, now we have got a new town emerging from Norway. Such news is golden in Zimbabwe, because we have failed in the past 40 years to transform growth points into towns and towns into cities because of lack of product manufacturing or productivity. So I think I commend the Second Republic for creating a new city from Norway. So to me, I'm proud of that, because the 4,000 to 5,000 people, families to employ it. I mean, that's a welcome move. We are crying of jobs. We are crying of jobs. These are the developments we need.
Okay. Why do you think the Chinese are investing, the Chinese and the British are investing in Zimbabwe? What are they seeing that other people are not seeing?
A good question. Zimbabwe is blessed with the natural resources. I think in our country, it's easier to count the minerals we don't have than to count the minerals that we have under our underground. Otherwise, the list is very long. Now, so that is attractive. No matter politically, we are painted in a bad way, but people thought the regime change process is going to be quick. Every superpower in the world has got eyes set on Zimbabwe, but they thought if there's a regime change, then they would literally own everything. But the regime change process is taking too many years, and now behind the scenes, others are coming, but now people are now investing, these superpowers are now investing directly. And I think there'll be a scramble for investment in Zimbabwe. And this is the start.
Okay, my question then, and I think we should wrap up at this point. Why are Zimbabweans and Zimbabwean companies not making these big investments? Because you can see in part this deal with the Chinese, I don't think they've got a local partner. And the one that we were talking about is government. The private sector of Zimbabwe, why are they not coming up and structuring these deals?
Okay. Although I don't know much about the government policy in terms of investment, but I think we welcome foreign direct investment, but domestic investment must not really be officially like being elbowed out. The government must protect domestic investment. We need to be players and shareholders of the bigger cake. So although I'm not sure of our investment policy, but these are welcome moves. We need for the FDI, but at the same time, we should also boost our locals so that they become competitive shareholders in our economy.
Okay. So what do we do with the locals? Because I want to go a bit more into that. Are we not going to end up with a situation where when there's that scramble that you're talking about, the locals end up again having nothing, and these big companies from outside have everything?
Thank you so much. I think maybe next time we need to talk on our policy in terms of investment, so that we research more and consult more, and then so that we understand. Otherwise, maybe the policy framework might be even be friendly to locals, but we might, for now, we don't have that much knowledge. So I think we need a topic on our policy in terms of domestic investment. But anyway, it's the government's duty to protect the locals. But at the same time, there's no country which can resist a foreign direct investment, because our investment must be the bottlenecks, everything must be friendly, because we should define an investor, whether it's a local or is a regional or is a foreign Western. Any investor must be willing and must be allowed to invest, so that our economy becomes competitive. So I think these deals are welcome, but at the same time, our policy must also be biased towards the locals.
Okay, but there's the AAG. What is the AAG's purpose and role in investment?
Yeah, from their websites, from their flyers and everything, it's affirmative action group. They are protecting locals to be participants in their economy, and also to be agents of citizens in sitting down and engaging the government to maybe in terms of policy formulation and implementation. Yeah, and I think they are also playing a part, because they are so active now, and they are structuring across the country. They are structuring in Africa, internationally. I commend them, because this issue of economy, it starts with individuals. You don't need to cry loud. You need to zip your mouth, take part, because you know where there's gold, no one would invite people to come. Where there's gold, there's no invitation. so I think it's also a duty of every Zimbabwean to make sure that you penetrate in the activity of in our economic activities, And then obviously, people need to create, like Mr. Gambako, I commend you on your project. It's groundbreaking. Is people we don't know much about group investment. I mean, coming together. Sometimes if 1 million Zimbabweans come together and they put a dollar, they've got in a day they can raise 1 million US dollar. So that's how easy it is to come together in numbers, in volumes. 1 million Zimbabweans, they put 100 US dollar. That's 100 million. And it's very easy to create a billion fund and invest, whether in financial markets or in any industry. I think that is also important because as the locals, obviously, they can't compete with the Western investors. So I think we need also to start creating projects that we come together in numbers. In that way, it becomes easy to raise the capital.
Right, Mr. Tinashe Jonas, I really enjoyed talking to you today, and I want us to wrap this up. But before I go, I want us to quickly look at what has happened in Zambia, and I want to give you an opportunity to say your piece about that.
Yeah, to me, what is happening? What happened in Zambia? It's a victory for Africa. It's a victory for Black people. Why? Just the peaceful transfer of power. To me, it's encouraging, and it must be. And the defeat of the incumbent comrade Lungu, people must not laugh. People must not mock him. Instead, to me, he's a hero because we know that Africa is having problems we don't have problems in Africa for conducting elections. We have got a cancer in terms of peaceful transfer of power. So to me, these two guys are both heroes. HH is a hero. He is peaceful. He is talking about buildings in Zambia, and he stated, clearly that I won't even. The incumbent was maybe in case he's afraid of being arrested because he was arresting him. He arrested him 15 times before. He stated clearly that I won't arrest him. So I think both men are statesmen, and to me they are two heroes. They are defining the new chapter for Africa.
Yeah, but then you saw Chamisa today publishing selfies of himself with HH. Yeah. Do you think there's a victory of HH is going to rub off on Chamisa?
Okay. You know what? Chamisa, I think we should organize one day to maybe to pray. We pray for water. We pray, then we send to Chamisa. He needs a bit of some deliverance. All right. The same Chamisa was running around like a headless chicken when there was a change of regime, when there was a change of power, transfer of power in Malawi. Chamisa doesn't understand a simple political dynamic here. When someone is in opposition, he's your colleague. The moment he wins, he becomes a head of state. And now there are two dynamics at play: domestic policy and foreign policy or international relations. So when one is not a president of a nation, he's not worried about international relations. Now the moment the HH is inaugurated, he's a head of state. He is no longer an opposition leader. He will need Comrade Mnangagwa, he will need Comrade Ramaphosa, and all other sitting heads of state. And they do meetings. Whether him and the other head of state were not in good books or in good books, it becomes history. There's SADC, there's bilateral relations, there's a lot, there's ECOWAS, there's AU. All these platforms, Mr. Chamisa won't be featuring. And even Mr. Chamisa won't even be like groomed or be funded by the Zambian government. But when he was opposition, if he wanted to give Mr. Chamisa some money, maybe they can do. But now, as a head of state, if he can even fund MDC, sorry, for Chamisa, it becomes a declaration of war with the government of Zimbabwe. So Mr. Chamisa doesn't realize that him being a head of state now is lost from the opposition circles. So I mean, it's very misguided.
Okay, I also want to briefly look at the approach of the Zambians. I realized that when they were campaigning, they never went outside their country to badmouth their country or to try to get outsiders to solve their problems. I think you saw what I mean. Like, even though HH was being blocked and was failing to go to certain parts, he never went out of Zambia to try to get outside help. Is this not the opposite of what is happening with the opposition in Zimbabwe? For example, HH had the slogan, "One Zambia, one nation." And our opposition in Zimbabwe, they go out a lot, and they have hashtags trying to attract international attention. Why is there that contrast where we have Zimbabweans that think that the change is going to come from outside and not from inside?
Okay, I think there's a problem both in ZANU-PF and in opposition. The problem in ZANU-PF is not implementing laws that protect the brand Zimbabwe. For example, there is Patriotic Act bill. I think no one knows if it's still going to be brought to parliament or not. But somewhere, the bill is sitting somewhere. And then on the opposition front, it's lack of strategies. In politics, you need political strategies. You need to fight the ruling party with the strategies. But and it exposes the opposition as the power hungry. Nelson Chamisa is clear. He wants to become Zimbabwe's president. He's not worried that there's no power, there's nothing. Any challenges facing the nation, he uses it for political mileage. Hence, ED is calling for unity in Poland, and Chamisa is refusing. Chamisa is simply saying, I'll talk of unity when I'm in power. And his call for unity is suspicious, because if you can't hold hands with other people now, why would you be holding hands with other people when you are a president? Chamisa doesn't have power. He's just like any other opposition member. But in his party, they count that we won 2 million votes, we got 2 million votes, more than this other political party, although officially those votes were disqualified. So I think today I spent 20 minutes watching Wopu Wechimono on SABC, bashing Zimbabwe, left, right to center. But I'm thinking the same SABC didn't cover the Free Zuma violence, which had more than 200 citizens and they died. Over 200 South Africans died. SABC chose not to report, citing that we are going to instigate maybe more violence. But the same SABC and SABC today and also ENCA, only today, they gave coverage to one Zimbabwean called Wopu Wechimono, who masquerade as a journalist. But we know that Wopu Wechimono is an information PR manager for the Chamisa Chete party. And even in the absence of Fadzai Mayere now nursing his pregnancy with Nelson Chamisa, Wopu is covering that gap. So then one wonders, what is the logic of bashing your country when the same South Africa you are in collaboration with lost more than 200 people. And they are not, all the media in South Africa, they are treating that as a non-event. It's just a non-event. The incarceration of Comrade Jacob Zuma, if it was in Zimbabwe, it was going to be hailed as a political persecution and a sign of how the state is captured, how there's lawfare. But in South Africa, everything is normal. Why is everything is normal? Because South Africa is in good books with nations which controls the world order.
Okay, Mr. Tinashe Jonas, I think this was very interesting, and I would like to see more young Zimbabweans being interested in making money in their own country. Most young Zimbabweans are slaves in foreign countries. They are standing at street corners. When I drive around here in Johannesburg, someone spends the whole night or the whole day standing outside looking for a house to clean. Whereas in our country, we've got so much minerals and so much work. I think there's something that we need to do to just bring our people to understand.
But I would want to also add my opinion there, which is correct or wrong. Zimbabweans, we are not innovative. When I read your document, Mr. Gambakwe, I realized that it was punctuated with innovation. Zimbabwean young people, we went to school. I want to believe our education is totally wrong. To begin with, the education of Zimbabwe is totally not custom made for our economy, for our lifestyle, for our culture. Was a graduate, I'm being honest, a graduate from Zimbabwe with a bachelor degree, with a master's, with a PhD or a professor, operates maybe around Form 2 or Grade 7. The more you get from master's to PhD, you become a total fool. How many millionaires in Zimbabwe are professors? How many billionaires in Zimbabwe have got a PhD? The moment you say a professor, you say a master, a doctor, you should remove them from being billionaires or millionaires. Go to University of Zimbabwe, go to the car park. It shows you the person is a professor, but he's poor. We lack innovation. Our education is bad. Secondly, Zimbabwean young generation are not innovative. They do the traditional thing. Imagine someone with a degree in South Africa. They go on a corner and wait for someone to scream a painter, to scream I want a. I mean, it's utter nonsense. Sometimes we should, as citizens of a nation, we should take responsibility. Zimbabweans are not innovative. They are lazy. They want manual jobs, construction, digging for fiber in South Africa. We are lazy. We don't think, and better life comes from better ideas. Strive Masiwa is a Zimbabwean, and is the first black billionaire in UK, in a first world country. So sometimes we tend to use to manipulate the government to hide behind the finger. Zimbabweans, we are lazy in thinking. We are not innovative, and our income is in line with our thinking. We are lazy.
Okay, I think I want to take 2 points from what you just said. Firstly, I want to comment on your point about Hopo Chingono going to foreign radio stations and TV stations to bash Zimbabwe. I think that's totally unacceptable. Like tonight, I think he's on Kaya FM here in South Africa, bashing Zimbabwe. Similarly, like you said, he was on SABC. I think I take that point that Zimbabweans, some of us, when you go out of the country and you are talking bad about Zimbabwe, you think you're very smart, and you think people care. But actually what I realized that, for example, South Africans, they've got bigger problems. than whatever a Zimbabwean can say, or an opposition person can say in here. If you come to South Africa and you think you can bash Zimbabwe, you can say how bad things are in Zimbabwe, you are just going to walk back and there will be nothing that will change in Zimbabwe. Then I want to take your second point about innovation. And I think that's a very good point. Young Zimbabweans, they are kings in their countries, but they come back into these foreign countries and they reduce themselves to the level of slaves. What do we do, Mr. Jonas? Someone comes from China and they make billions, and we as Zimbabweans are not making these billions. What do we do? You talked about the policies. What else can we do?
Okay, all right. I think the first fundamental mistake that we are doing as a nation is to over-expect the government. The government is responsible for things like health care, infrastructure. The government is not responsible for personal income. Now, the problem now is because the opposition is not progressive. People talk politics I'm in WhatsApp groups, Comrade Gambagwe. I can tell you that post after post, probably 90% of posts in WhatsApp groups, which are general, it's over 90%, it's only politics. Now, how do you expect such a nation to progress when people talk about politics slogans day in, day out? That's the first thing. We are into politics, not into economy and development. It's Mnangagwa, it's Chamisa, it's Mondora. A Zimbabwean is likely to know the political leaders, their sangomas, their prophets, everything. But the young generation doesn't know. Even if you say types of investments, the financial markets, what is stock, even stock, to ask a Zimbabwean, maybe with a master's degree, about investment or trade or taxation, they don't know. But we know politics and soccer and sex, to the point that South African women, they even interact with me and tell me that Zimbabwean men, they are good in bed. Zimbabwean men are loved in Botswana, they are loved in South Africa. But why can't we focus all those experiences into money making? So we are brave in many aspects, but we are not focusing our energies into business and other things. We call business when most Zimbabwean men in South Africa, they want to be truck drivers, they want to be waitresses. And seriously, nothing stops Nigerians. They're in South Africa. Most of them, they're millionaires. Pakistanis are in South Africa. Greeks. We've got a lot of foreigners here. Pakistanis, Ethiopians. They come even through the border of Zimbabwe. They come here with nothing. And Pakistanis, Somalians, they're even from far. Somalians are even worse, from a country whose government has collapsed more than 20 years ago. But Somalians, they are united. They've got a unit of purpose. They invest for the first. If they are 10, they put money together. They build a spaza shop for one of them. Next time, but Zimbabweans, we are the majority in South Africa. Probably most of the foreigners who are suffering in South Africa might be Zimbabweans. We don't help each other. In politics, there's factions. We fight for positions. We don't reward those with the capacity. We are not serious with development. We are egocentric. It's about me. It's about me and my few people. So it's a sad thing. Zimbabweans, we are greedy. We are selfish. We are evil.
Right, Mr. Tinashe Jonas, I think this is a good point at which you can stop this discussion. I really enjoyed talking to you, and I'm sure that many of the people that follow you are very happy that we're back to our usual schedule. Is there anything else you want to say before we close?
Yeah, I want to say, number one, we have got people who think that they are on the front line of fighting corruption. Corruption in Zimbabwe is not found in opposition. It's not found in ruling party. Corruption in Zimbabwe is found in the community. When you join ZANU-PF, you don't sign a form that you must be corrupt. You don't promise that I will steal money and then they say, take the card. Corruption, we are in South Africa here. When buses are going to Zimbabwe, they charge you maybe 500 rand if you've got a passport. 1,500 if you don't have a passport. That's corruption. We have got some Zimbabweans in South Africa who they send their passports with buses and they are stamped out. That's corruption. Let's not say those maybe who steal large amounts, then it's corruption. Corruption is the society of Zimbabwe. Then secondly, we need unity as Zimbabweans. We need unity in ZANU-PF. We need unity in opposition. And number three, let's stop politicking every hour. We need to focus on personal development. If Tinashe I'm making 500 rand a month, why can't I work out next month to get even 600 rand a month? We need personal development before we are able even to develop a nation. People want the government to improve the country. You are even failing to improve your own life. And then let's not rely on education. What do I mean? If you graduate from university as an engineer, nothing can stop you from even owning a bakery. We are so obsessed with our professions. I'm a teacher. I'm a nurse. I'm a police officer. In other countries like in US, in the UK, you can find an engineer even as a trader. You can find an engineer even into starting up a construction company. They look at opportunities. We must be a generation that look at that analyzes opportunities that are in our country, other than just stick and say I'm an engineer, even if the engineering profession is not rewarding or if the opportunities are limited. That is what is killing our country. That everyone is saying I did business management, so I want a company to be a manager. Which company can you manage when everyone is looking for a job and no one is creating any? So and we need unity. The reason why I'm saying Zimbabweans were evil, no matter we are Christians, the Christianity is almost fake, because surely even the issue of this girl, this young woman who died in Marangi, you can see how polarized it is. Some people take it as politics. Some people are castigating the whole church. It's not fair. If someone does something wrong, we can't say every pastor in Zimbabwe is raping children. That's not correct. We should spare the church. We should spare the government. We can't face a culprit that is maybe someone slept with an underage girl. We can't do that. We look at the government, we look at the president, the ZANU-PF, we look at the whole church, its principles, its doctrine. I wonder what type of Christianity in Zimbabwe. I think we need to revise our Christianity. If ever there was that, it was possible, we need to put some standards of being a Christian in Zimbabwe. Because people are doing fasting and feeding, whatever, and it translates to nonsense. The same people who are singing in church and praying and fasting, when you meet them in the street and you are hungry, they can't help you.
Okay, Mr. Tinashe Jonas, this was an interesting discussion. So let us end this discussion here today. And tomorrow I'll be back with Dr. Fedias Mteneri. And on Wednesday, I'm going to be having Mr. Senator Kalipani Pugen. We didn't have our discussion on Saturday because of the elections in Zambia. Thank you very much, Mr. Jonas, and I'll see you again next week.
Thank you for the platform.
Ay, kuno, apo, pano, mamu.